If you clicked on this video, it's probably because you consider yourself an overthinker. Now, there's nothing necessarily wrong with that because if you overthink, that means that you're always able to see all the possibilities. You are somehow able to predict the future. You're able to analyze yourself and see what you did wrong so that you don't repeat the same mistakes. So, overthinking is not necessarily bad. However, the problem begins when you start to attach your emotions to the overthinking, or when the overthinking prevents you from being present with your loved ones, as well as it prevents you from focusing on a particular task that must be done in the present moment. And I have a simple solution for you. Next time you catch yourself overthinking, pause, take a deep breath, and ask yourself, does this actually matter? Because often than not, if you really think about it, you will realize that it doesn't matter. Because if it doesn't matter in a couple of days, or it won't matter in a couple of weeks, months, years, why should it matter now? And do you know why it will not matter in the future? It's not because the situation will be different. It won't matter in the future because over time, your emotions towards the situation will go away. And that's why it won't matter to you anymore. However, the reason why it matters for you right now in a moment is because your emotions are involved with the situation. And that's why it matters for you right now. But if you take the emotions away from it, it will not. And this is why I want you to ask yourself this one question, which is, does this actually matter? But more precisely, I want you to ask yourself, will this matter in the future? Because if it won't matter in the future, that means it shouldn't matter now. And the reason why it will not matter in the future is again because over time your emotions go away. And the only reason why right now it matters to you and you feel like it's the worst thing in the world and you're overthinking about it is because your emotions are attached to the situation. And asking yourself this question becomes extremely important, especially if you're a man. Because as men, we tend to believe that what we feel matters. And it doesn't. And it shouldn't, because as a man, you have a duty to do the right thing, regardless of how you feel. You must protect your loved ones, you must take care of them, you must provide for them, and it doesn't matter how you feel. You should be doing the right thing. And what is interesting is that if you're a man, probably 70% of the overthinking that you have is tied to how a particular situation made you feel, how a particular person made you feel. And that becomes a problem. Because now you're overthinking about how something or someone made you feel. And this is horrible, especially for a man, because now your focus is somewhere else. And in the first place, it shouldn't matter how something made you feel. Now, I'm not saying to you that you should ignore your emotions or you should ignore how you feel, because usually emotions are an indicator of what you actually want in life. Emotions are usually an indicator of maybe what you should work on more, or it's an indicator of your boundaries. If you get a negative emotion when someone does something, that means that probably your values and your principles go against it. And that's why you should be setting boundaries. But there's a difference. You should always be setting boundaries with your coworkers, with your friends, in your relationships. You should be setting boundaries. But trying to explain to someone how something made you feel, or how you're not feeling good, or trying to explain and make them understand how you feel and your emotions, never do that, because you will just end up wasting your time. Plus, they won't care, because as a man, you should be doing things regardless of how you feel. And if you simply just always talk about how you feel, just people are going to get tired of it. And you will start to lose maybe your friends, maybe some family members, maybe you will start to struggle in your relationships. So in the end, shouldn't matter how you feel if you're a man. It shouldn't. But again, there's a difference between setting a boundary and trying to explain how you feel, because setting the boundary is going to do something. It's going to change how a particular person is behaving around you. However, explaining how you feel is not going to change anything. Actually, it's going to make things worse. But seriously, I spent so much time talking about this for a reason. It took me such a long time to realize, but now I'm finally just realizing how good it is when you just stop caring about how you feel. Because I'm telling you, 70% of your overthinking as a man will go away if you stop caring about how someone or something made you feel. If you stop caring about trying to show to people how you feel or how they made you feel, and trying to get empathy from them or trying to explain yourself, you will be so much at peace when you stop doing that. But again, I'm not telling you to ignore your emotions, because usually emotions are an indicator of something else that you must work on. However, what I'm telling you is keep it to yourself. Do not share it with anybody else. Well, again, it depends. If you have really close friends, male friends, maybe you can do that with them. But with other people, never. You should keep those feelings to yourself. Of course, you should be setting boundaries. You can be setting boundaries. The thing I'm telling you not to do, and I'm telling you not to do it because I did it and I made mistakes, which is trying to make other people understand how you feel. That never works. Generally, it never works, and it's going to end up destroying everything. So, on the other hand, I'm not saying not trying to show other people your point of view with logical reasoning. But if you try to get empathy from other people by explaining your emotions, it's not going to do anything. It's not going to do anything good. So this is something you should be considering if you're a man. Now, the other thing that is really important for you to understand, regardless if you're a man or a woman, is that if you want to focus and care about the things that matter, you must stop caring about the things that doesn't matter. And the logic behind this is really simple. If you spend all of your time and focus and energy thinking about the things that doesn't matter, when are you going to have time to think about the things that do matter? It's pretty simple. Same thing with diet. A lot of people, instead of removing the foods that are really unhealthy for them and the foods that are making them sick, making them fat, instead of removing those foods, they start to add like supplements, or they try to eat superfoods. But the best thing you can do is just remove the bad food. And this is another thing about life that most people don't understand, is that if you want to get far in life, what you have to do is not adding things, it's actually removing the bad things. Because a lot of people, they are looking for this one thing that's going to make them successful. They're trying to add some special habit that's going to make them successful. The thing is, yes, it might help you, but it's not going to change anything unless you remove all the bad things you're doing in the first place. So far, what we did, we took a pause and we asked ourselves this question of, does this actually matter? And it turned out that it doesn't, so we shouldn't care about it. Now, what happens if you ask yourself, does this actually matter? And the answer is yes, then what should you do next? Here's the thing. If you're doing something, a particular task that you must be doing, for example, you're doing homework, or you're at work, or you're with a person, with a loved one, and you're trying to be present with that person, but all you can think is that problem, what should you do? Okay, so you're in the middle of a task, you're doing something, and you're trying to be present, but now you're overthinking. And you ask yourself, does this matter? And it does. However, now you should ask yourself, does this matter right now in the moment? Can it wait? Because if, for example, you're doing an exam, or you're in class trying to listen to the professor, or you're working on your business, or you're working out, or you're with your loved one, you have to be present and your focus has to be on this particular task. You shouldn't be thinking about other things. Because if you're thinking about other things, you're not going to be able to complete that task successfully. So that's why you should ask yourself, does this matter right now? Can it wait? If it cannot wait, try to just, take 5 minutes for your own self and just think about it for 5 minutes and then go completely back to your task. If it can wait, then wait. And this is something I believe everyone should do. Every single day, you should allocate at least 5, 10, or 15 minutes just alone with your thoughts. Instead of listening to degenerate music, just be alone with your thoughts. And that moment, it will help you to stop overthinking when you're trying to do certain tasks. Because if, for example, you go on a walk or while driving, you think about all the things that are making you stressful, the things that are making you overthink, you think about them. You spend some time analyzing them. Then, once you try to focus on a particular task, you're going to be able to do that because you already thought about the thing that keeps coming into your mind. But if you want to be even more efficient, instead of simply allocating some time to think about what actually matters, what you can do is also write it down. You journal, you write down what is on your mind, what is the problem you're struggling with. Or what I usually do, because sometimes you don't have time to journal or you're lazy to journal, just record yourself. You have an app on your phone that is called recording. Record yourself speaking about your problems or the things that actually matter to you. And something interesting happens when you take your thoughts and you put them into words by either writing it down or by speaking out loud to a recording device. What happens is that now you know clearly what you're dealing with. Because when, for example, you're overthinking about a problem, it's in your head, it's not clear. You get confused, it seems bigger than it actually is. However, if you put it into words, you have to write it down or you have to explain the problem that you're dealing with, it will do two things. The first one, you might realize that it's actually not a big deal. And second, what it will do is that if you have to take your thoughts and put them into words, you need to be understanding what you're dealing with. You need to be clear about what is the problem. So it helps you to take something that is kind of vague in your mind and you state clearly what is it exactly that you're struggling with? What is it exactly that makes you overthink? And that's what happens when you put it into words. So let me just do a quick recap of everything I said in the video. You ask yourself the question, does this actually matter? Every single time you start to overthink. Then, if the answer is no, it doesn't matter, then you shouldn't be thinking about it. Then if you ask yourself, will it matter in the future? And it doesn't, then probably it shouldn't matter now. And the reason why it matters for now is because your emotions are attached to it. The other thing that I discussed is if you're a man, stop caring about how you feel. It does not matter. And most of the overthinking that you have is because you think that how other people made you feel matters. It doesn't. Now, I'm not saying do not put boundaries. You have to put boundaries with those people. Because if you don't put boundaries, then bad things will happen. Putting boundaries is going to do something, is going to change the situation. However, talking about your feelings and trying to get some empathy from the other person is not going to do anything. So what I'm telling you is, if what you're about to do or about to say is going to change the situation or can change the situation, then say it. If it's just to get empathy or tell the other person how you feel, even though it's not going to do anything, then what's the point of it? You shouldn't do it. Now, the other thing, I'm not telling you to ignore your emotions. You should be really careful because your emotions are sometimes an indicator on the thing that you should work on. So you should be attentive. However, keep it to yourself. Do not share it with other people. Or be really careful with whom you share it. But to be safe, it's better to keep it to yourself if you're a man. Again, if you're a man. Now, we also discussed what happens if you ask yourself the question, does this matter? And it does. Then you should ask yourself the next question, does this matter right now? If it doesn't matter right now, if it can wait, then you should wait. Because if you have to do a particular task, you have to complete it, or you're with your loved ones, you have to be purely present and focus on the thing that you're doing. You cannot be overthinking or thinking about something else. So that's why you should wait. However, if it cannot wait, then you still have to complete the task, right? So just spend maybe 2 minutes or 3 minutes just thinking about the thing that you're struggling with. Put it into words, write it down, say it out loud, and be like, look, this is what I'm struggling with. I have to deal with it. This is what I'm going to do. You think logically. And then you go back straight to your task, and then you can think about it more later. But again, I recommend highly to anyone, every single day, you must allocate some time where there's no distraction, there's no degenerate music playing. You should be simply with your thoughts. And those things that actually matter, they will start to come into your mind. You'll start to think about them. And then you can do the filter. Okay, does this matter? No? All right. Does this matter? Yes. Let me think about it. Let me put it down into words and see what I can do with it. You think logically. Now you clearly see what's the problem and you're trying to find solutions logically. So to you, the overthinker, that's the best advice I can give you. Just ask yourself, does this actually matter? And from there, you already know what to do. Depending on your answer, you know what to do.